Guys, are we going to look back in a few weeks once the election is all said and done and be able to say that this is the moment that Kamala Harris potentially lost the election? This moment has been going viral, as it says here on Fox News, been going viral, and I've seen several people mention it, and I've even seen like several Democrats talk about it. But I don't know if they've discussed it necessarily in this angle. Let's go ahead and play the clip, and I'll sort of give you my take and my understanding of this situation here.
In the past 4 years, something differently. Okay. If anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact. Yeah. The work that we have done.
I mean, talk about losing your fastball, talk about losing your touch and just completely failing to understand, not having the political instincts to understand that Joe Biden has an approval rating of about like 38 or 40%, maybe lower. You've had the grace, you've been given the grace, Kamala Harris, you've been given the grace of branding yourself separately from Joe Biden enough to the point that your approval rating has gone positive recently, okay? Because people are giving you that grace of separating you from Joe Biden's record. People who know that the vice president doesn't really doesn't have as much of a say in things. It doesn't have as much power as people think, right? You don't really do. You're symbolic as vice president, right? You vote. You're the tie-breaking vote in the Senate, or you support the president in decisions or whatever. Like, you don't have any power. So she's had the grace to be able to say, or she could have had the grace to say, I understand that things are difficult. I understand that people have been dealing with inflation. And I've worked on the infrastructure bill. I worked on the Inflation Reduction Act. I worked on bringing manufacturing back here and bringing infrastructure, improving the infrastructure. She could have taken that opportunity to use it as an advertisement to talk about the good things that they've done. And maybe even mention a thing or two she would have done differently. Maybe like minimum wage, raising the minimum wage, or paid family leave, or some of the positive housing policies that she wants to do. Instead, she takes this route of she doesn't want to offend Joe Biden. She wants to not hurt his feelings or whatever. So she says, no, I wouldn't have done anything differently. But in an atmosphere where people are realizing, even though I think that the policies that Joe Biden implemented, we won't see the benefit of those for another 5 to 10 years because they're these long-term projects with infrastructure and manufacturing and jobs. You dealt with the environment of inflation, right? That is the biggest thing that is holding you back. People are voting with inflation on their mind. They're voting with their wallets on their mind. And you keep hearing it over and over again. People perceived that Donald Trump was better on the issue of inflation just because there was no inflation at the time. He was in a normal economy. He inherited a recovering economy from Barack Obama and imploded it during COVID, right? Donald Trump imploded the economy with his poor handling of COVID. Joe Biden inherited an imploding economy and has been working to build it back up. So you work with the economy that you inherited. Trump inherited a good economy, so Trump is perceived as good. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris inherited an imploding economy, a pandemic, and inflation from Donald Trump. So people are not understanding there's a delay effect to all of these. That's why whoever takes over next, whatever the next administration is going to be, will get the perception of a recovering economy from COVID, right? So those people, whoever takes over next, God forbid it's Trump, he's going to inherit a recovering economy. He won't have to do shit. He won't have to change anything. The economy's already recovering. Inflation's already coming back down. And he'll be able to say, he did it. He brought inflation down. He did all these great things, even though he will have done absolutely nothing, and he'll just inherit an economy from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Now, God forbid that happens, right? But Kamala Harris is not doing herself any favors by answering the question with, I would have done nothing different. I can't think of a worse answer to the question, right? You have absolutely no thoughts of your own. You have no creativity. You have no plans. You haven't thought of anything in the last 4 years. Even like, you can't even lie about it. You can't even make something up that sounds good just to have like a PR moment. Totally unprepared. And I just can't fathom it. You're going on a friendly show. You're going on a show that's supposed to be friendly for you. So just a complete miss. People are obviously taking it and running with it. It's spreading around the country. People hear it. And when people hear that and they think, well, God, you know, we've just been dealing with inflation for basically the whole period that we've had Joe Biden. Wow, I don't really want to do another 4 years of that. And there are people that are changing their votes right now just because of that answer. I guarantee it. And the election is too close to say stupid things like that. And I'm sorry, it's a bad, stupid answer. She has to do better. Now, this is the final point here. They keep trying to pin inflation on Biden and Kamala. Guys, inflation was a global event, is a global event. It's still occurring. It's still worse in other places than here. The U.S. has actually recovered better with regards to inflation. But when you have an event, when you have a global pandemic, right, this shared experience that we all had, there wasn't a single country that was spared. And then now you have this global inflation as a result. You're not going to be able to pin that on the Joe Biden administration, right, or some policy that he did. Inflation was so are you going to say that every single country copied Joe Biden and what his policies are? Like, what's your argument? You're just going to ignore the fact that the rest of the world had inflation too. And that just shows you how egocentric, how US centric we are. Like, we're not even looking at the data from the rest of the world. And the Republicans know better, you know, and they're just going out there and making this argument because they know that people aren't going to look too deep into this. Inflation, the pandemic was a global event. Pandemic caused shutdowns and lockdowns and supply chain constraints and worker shortages, which led to the inflation, right, in every single developed country and most undeveloped country, or every country on the planet, right? So I don't know why they don't talk about these things. I don't know why they don't make it more clear. You can make these arguments and strengthen your point, but they don't do it. So it's very frustrating, and I hope she figures it out, right? I hope she figures out the messaging and figures out a way to turn this thing around, because right now she was winning for a period of time and Trump is getting a lot of momentum. The debate performance didn't sink him. The VP debate was 50-50, and now Kamala is just sort of floundering and giving really stupid answers. I'm not saying she's stupid. I'm not saying she's a dumb person. I'm saying that answer in particular was really bad, and she's got to do better. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys in the next video. Please like and subscribe.